Capricorn is a cardinal earth sign. It is ruled by Saturn, so it's an interesting setup of qualities.
It is an interesting setup. There is something about the seriousness of Capricorn and the steadiness and the predictability that might seem a little bit boring maybe to a younger person, but seems really wonderful as you get older. Please, predictable, steady, loyal. I think that Capricorn is probably the most loyal of all the signs. They're ambitious. Capricorn is very aware of hierarchy. They're sort of aware of the people who have the experience that they deserve authority and respect from them. And Capricorns really want people who should pay them respect to pay them respect. They're sort of aware of that pecking order in a really tangible way. They diligently work towards their goals. They're very stable, very patient, very resilient. Capricorn really values safety and integrity. You know, one thing that I think is interesting about Capricorn, they're quite smart with money, but they can be pretty frugal too. I usually will say to a Capricorn that, like, most people kind of enjoy spending money, and Capricorns really don't. And they'll usually nod vigorously that that's true, that it actually like causes them distress to spend any money.
I think what you said about vibing with the sign more as you got older and studied it and dug into it is very accurate for Capricorn. I actually, in my when I was making notes on Capricorn and my thoughts, I had written down that, when we're young and life, when you're in your 20s or your late teens or even your early 30s, you feel, life is kind of fun. It's very Sagittarian, right? It's very Jupiterian. There's of course challenges, but Capricorn can seem like a slightly boring, joyless, head down over the work kind of sign. But as we mature and learn more about how valuable those qualities are in life, which we might not have valued them a ton when we're younger and just playing around, Capricorn comes into focus as a very vital, important energy. And also the Capricorn people that I knew when I was younger seemed so serious and so committed to work, right? And I worried after them if they were joyless. And now I guess I'm going low light before highlight. But now Capricorns, as you mentioned, they really work at something. They have a lot of discipline and diligence. They know what they want. I feel like Capricorns have a vision for what they want. They just chip away at it over long periods of time. And one day you wake up and your Capricorn friend or family member has made tremendous achievements and you didn't even notice that they were getting there bit by bit. And just that proverbial climbing the mountain step by step, even though this is a sea goat and not a mountain goat. There is that mountain goat quality of just sort of like taking it slow, taking the switchback, getting to the top of where they want to be, and not really gloating when they get there. They've just sort of done what they set out to do. If they have their sights set on something, that strong will just keeps them moving forward no matter how slow it goes. So the idea of cardinal earth, what is cardinal is a quality of signs that starts things, that is on the move, that is sparking things here and there. How does that play with earth, which seems immovable and stable? What is cardinal earth? It's kind of like shifting of tectonic plates and just really slow movement, but in intense weight and massive changes that occur over long periods of time. So don't let too many friends in. I think they tend to keep their circle smaller, but if you are their friend or you're in their circle, they're very loyal. They're extremely dependable. When there's a crisis going on, they are so clutch in a pinch. They are just the pillars of stability and can really steady the boat when there's rocky seas. In love and in relationships, they are very steady, very dependable. Sometimes they seem like quite old souls. Just they're very wise. And that could come from some suffering when they're younger. Just feelings of loneliness, and they acquire this wisdom and this sort of old soul quality to them. But there's so much to love about Capricorn that is not really apparent just on the surface, right? But is there once you start looking.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting what you're saying about their age as well, and it makes me think about, I love the image of cardinal Earth. And that was making me think about, like sort of like the Zen koan. I forget what it is exactly of like even the mountains move if you watch them for long enough.
Right.
That like that Earth is very, very slowly shifting. It's just a matter of perspective. But then that Saturn ruled thing is so interesting too, with the way that it plays with Capricorn in terms of age. Like I've heard it said about Capricorn that they are old when they're young and young when they're old. Oh, and it's so true. Like every Capricorn I know, when they were young, they were like working hard. They were so serious. They were in like a very committed relationship. They had kids young, maybe. But even as teenagers or children, for some reason, they're asked to grow up quickly. And so then by the time they get old, they want to have that childhood that they never had. And they have lots of toys and hobbies and interests, and they really know how to relax and kick back in retirement and have fun and play games and laugh really hard. And so that's an interesting sort of Saturnian play on the lifespan to flip the ages like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Are we ready to move on to shadow?
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like with Capricorn, there's something with Capricorn where it's a little bit easier to see the shadow side, I guess, of some of these qualities, something like being cautious, being steady and being reliable is a wonderful thing, but it does sort of come with the need to have a plan, being sort of overly serious, overly cautious, not really wanting to deviate from the routine or the plan. Sometimes Capricorn can be accused of being materialistic, but I think it is better understood as coming from that place of really wanting safety and security. But it can still sort of read as maybe clinging to money a little too much or being a bit too materialistic. Sometimes they can be hung up on the respect thing a little bit too much. It might be someone who at their job really like wants everyone to call them by a certain name, or they, demand a certain salary or something like that just because of their you should expect high things for yourself. And I think that's a good thing. But sometimes Capricorn, because they give the proper respect to authority when it isn't given to them, it can be really difficult. They're sort of status focused, I guess, is a way to put it. Sometimes they work too much. All that hard work, it can be hard for Capricorn to take a break. And, just in general, sort of like Virgo, I think of Capricorns as having high expectations of themselves and others. Sometimes with Virgo, the high expectations of others comes to the surface first, but really they expect a lot of themselves. With Capricorn, what comes to the surface is that they expect a lot of themselves, but secretly they really expect a lot of others too.
One of the first terms that I thought of was pessimism. I think Capricorns can see how things might go wrong. They're ruled by Saturn. They can see the worst case scenario and hence have a pessimism about just day-to-day life or situations in general, and a certain joylessness. Just because of that Saturn cloud that it doesn't always have to be a cloud, but sometimes it is a cloud, right, that clings to people. Shoulders, that weight that they carry around. That materialism is something I was thinking of as well. There can be a real focus on how much something costs, how much someone is making, how much they're making, how much this will bring in, how much they'll sell this house for. Just a constant stream of money anchored thoughts that give them the reputation for being materialistic, but at the same time they have a certain adeptness with money and with resources, and it makes sense that they would think about money a lot. But there can be an open materialism and a frugality as well that goes along with that is great to have if you're saving and you want to reach goals and making large purchases, but that frugality for others can be sort of a wet blanket, that thriftiness. And just that the overwork as well, the addiction to work, not addiction to work, but just workaholics. They are classic workaholics, which does help them achieve their goals, but can be off-putting if you're trying to spend time with a Capricorn or make time to meet up with them, or they're in your family. Sometimes there's tensions there. And then also, I think that they can be cool and a little ruthless when they're in pursuit of their goals. They have that laser focus on what they're trying to do, even though it might not be apparent. They can sort of bat away anything that's going to mess with that and be ruthless in pursuit of their goals. So,
it's interesting as we can all embody all sides of these signs, and it's just interesting to sort of notice maybe when you start to tip the scales as a Capricorn from wanting to get ahead and being ambitious to being overly focused on status, and then you can go, I'm sort of starting to go into the shadow side here. How can I pull myself back from that and be ambitious without being sort of too focused on status? Yeah, I mean, the only other thing that I wanted to add to what you said just kind of relates to Saturn more generally, in terms of, I always just kind of think of Saturn and therefore Capricorn and Aquarius as kind of having a no energy. Right? It's just kind of a no energy. Some people have kind of a yes energy, and some people just kind of have a no energy. And it sounds more negative maybe than it is, but I also kind of think it makes sense when you think about people with heavy Capricorn signatures. Just discerning and careful and cautious and focused on certain things, and will let other things go, yes, in pursuit of those things that they really want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So biggest highlight and low light. Yeah, for me, I ended up going with the biggest highlight actually being the loyalty of Capricorn. I just feel so safe with a Capricorn. This person is not going to change their mind about me. If you have a friend who's a Capricorn, they're your friend for life. If you're in a relationship with a Capricorn, they are loyal. Of course not 100% across the board. I shouldn't say that, but there's just an emotional steadiness. I guess it's that earth that is really wonderful and supportive. It feels very, very firm compared to the other signs. And then for the low light, I ended up going with that sort of over focus on status, being sort of too status focused. I think that it's one thing to pursue material things, but sort of feeling like everybody is ranked in a certain way it doesn't really lead to anything good. I'm not really sure that that's the way the world works. And sometimes Capricorns can be too hung up on feeling like we're all standing on a ladder somehow and we're all at different rungs based on our experience. And it's not quite that simple.
Yeah, the dependability and steadiness of Capricorn is so high on my list of highlights. One of their fabulous qualities, it's their ability to finish things. They're finishers, they're closers, and they see something through to the end, the ultimate closer. And that is that's a really valuable quality to have, not only for Capricorns themselves or Capricorn risings, but also for those in their sphere. If there's troubled seas or there's something going on, Capricorn can see through to the safe side of the river, so to speak. They're just great closers. And then in terms of the shadow side, I also went with materialism, just that over focus on money, material things, which has its uses, but can really crowd out other things that are important, whether those are spiritual values or connection with others. That materialism can start to color judgment of people and situations in a way that's not constructive. So. Yeah.
But like some of the other signs that we've done, this one isn't as bad as some of the other signs. So even the shadow side of Capricorn is kind of tame.
Yeah, it's funny we're saying that, right? Because as we both said, it took a while to come to those realizations about Capricorn, and they do kind of similar to Scorpio. They get a reputation for not being such a fun sign, but really there's so much to love about Capricorn.